just because he's indicted. I think it's bad. There's no question about it. But I think these candidates are being true to their convictions that they will support him.
Former Wisconsin Governor Tommy Thompson during our debate night analysis. Thompson, a one-time presidential candidate himself, alongside former Governor Scott Walker.
Walker, now president of Young America's Foundation, was a debate partner and was inside the debate hall.
Nobody, to my feeling, said anything on that podium that made Trump supporters feel like they needed to shift.
Let me ask you about the audience. You were in there. It was a lively audience. This wasn't an audience full of Trump supporters, right? This was a segment of the Republican Party.
Cross segment, yeah.
And what does their reactions tell you when they were booing Christie, when they were...
Well, the interesting thing, and this goes back to what I've said about the indictments, even though they were clear, I could hear, even when the candidates were first introduced, there was a big section for DeSantis, there was a big section of Nikki Haley supporters, there were lesser for some of the other candidates. It was a mix, and then just some neutral people who were there. When people like Chris Christie, or to a lesser extent Asa Hutchinson, went directly after President Donald Trump, they got backlash up there. And I think that's a reflection that even if he isn't your first pick, people don't like attacking Trump, particularly because they feel like a lot of these attacks are based on the left. They come from liberal outlets, liberal causes, liberal politicians.
Were you surprised by any of the answers when they were asked if Trump is convicted on these indictments, if they would still support him? What does that signal?
Well, the weirdest thing to me was that, and an otherwise I think pretty solid performance, that was a moment where I was kind of shocked. Physically being in there, I don't know if people picked up on it on TV as closely as those of us there did, but Governor DeSantis actually looked around before he raised his hand. It was one of those weird moments. Maybe it's trending on social, I don't know. But Vivek immediately put his hand up. DeSantis thought about it, more than thinking about it, that looked to the left, and then almost like realizing, hey, I better put my hand up. Those are just those little things that people notice and say, I want a leader. Otherwise, he was pretty solid, but that was one of the things that surprised me.
Up next, 1 year out.